97.3 The Fan listeners. If you're drowsy, sluggish, or feeling fatigued, you're about to get your afternoon boost with Tony Gwynn Jr.
It went from 1 car to 8 cars, so I'm done. I'm not doing it.
Chris Ello.
And Andy,
And Matt Scraby.
I've told you guys before when I was driving my Prius, I was like, hit me, dare ya.
Don't blame us for any side effects.
You thrilled our fans throughout the postseason with a great performance.
Gwynn and Chris are ready to go.
and welcome to it, everybody. Finally, it's a Friday edition of Gwynn and Chris on San Diego's #1 sports talk station, 97.3 The Fan. Chris Ello and Tony Gwynn Jr. Tony, of course, is in sweltering St. Louis for Game 2 of the Padres-Cardinals series, and we have a very short time together today as we'll be heading out to the ball game here shortly. Sam Levitt's pregame show is coming up at 3:15. Jake Cronenworth will be on our program today. But before we talk to Jake, Tony,
Yes?
good to catch up with you. And let's just start with the positives. 7 runs last night. That's a good thing. People have been dying for some offense, and the Padres, got their offense. Obviously, I know they lost this game, but I'm trying to look at the bigger picture. I know you're trying to look at the bigger picture, and we discussed this yesterday. Yu Darvish's results right now aren't as important to me as they might seem to be because we lost a ball game last night. I just want to make sure he's healthy. I want to make sure he's coming around. To me, he's still in his spring training. I don't expect Yu Darvish to be hanging curveballs, right in the middle of the plate, when he's pitching in the postseason as he did last night. So it was a rocky 4 innings for sure, but the offense got going, and hopefully that's a good sign.
Yeah, I think that's what you kind of have to turn to because, you just, wasn't good yesterday. And his results have looked like a guy who hasn't had a ton of opportunity out there in this season. So, there's no doubt he's rusty. And, I think because you're not used to seeing him perform like that, you immediately start to think, well, is he healthy? Like he seems to be struggling in terms of command. I think that's all there. It's just a matter of, him knocking that rust off. And unfortunately, this is kind of part of the process. But the offense was fun. That was actually fun to watch yesterday. Toddy had the big day. Luis Ariz continues to heat up. Manny had a big day. Jackson had 2. Xander had 1. It was a good offensive performance. I think last night. Unfortunately, it wasn't just and I have to be fair. It wasn't just the fact that Darv came in, but I think Peralta ended up surrendering a run that I think kind of ended up being bigger. And so listen. I think the offense is what we got to turn to. And the hope is that tonight they can continue some semblance of it. They maybe not 7 runs on 13 hits, but 5, 4, 5 in that range again, because we know when the Padres have scored 4 runs or more this year, they are tough to beat. And so that's the design, right? Is you got to get to that number 4 and kind of go from there.
Yeah, I agree. Miles Michaelis is on the mound tonight for the Cardinals. He is very hittable. Doesn't mean they'll hit him, but his ERA has been over 5 really for the past 2 seasons. Veteran, kind of a crafty guy. But I think the Padres can get some stuff off of him. And look, I'll take the 7 runs every night. The Padres are now 14-3 this year when they score 7 or more runs. So let's just get 7 every night, Tony, and take our chances. I think we'll be, that we're not going to see that kind of, game too often. But, most importantly, as you said, is getting some guys feeling good about themselves in the batter's box and starting to swing a little bit. And, I'm trying to be glass half full today, which is maybe because it's a Friday. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I think that's I mean, listen, what the alternative is what? You
Right.
are going to just be miserable for
Pack
the rest
it
of
in.
the season?
Yeah, I'm packing it in.
I mean,
Yeah, that's it.
or maybe, there's probably some in between there, but you got to choose what makes life better for you, I guess, in this case. But Padres lineup is out today. I don't know if you've seen that.
Well, I know one thing. Fernando Tatis Jr. Back, swinging it the way I like to see him swing it is a good way to start the lineup.
Indeed it is, and he will be right back in that normal leadoff spot. Luis Arraez. It's pretty much the same heads as yesterday, with the exception of Iglesias gets to start at third base. Manny is the designated hitter tonight. Gavin slides out back to left field. You got Diaz in there behind the dish. Everybody else is in there who's normally in there. Got bottom portion of the lineup looks like Cronenworth, or 7-8-9 looks like Cronenworth, Iglesias, Diaz, Jackson Merrill, second straight night, I should say, in the cleanup spot. He remains there, followed by Xander and Gavin. So
yeah, and you got Nick Pivetta pitching, so that's a good thing, and it has been a good thing all year long.
You need him to be the proverbial stopper here today, right? I mean, 3 straight losses for the Pods.
Yeah,
he has been the dude that typically is the one that kind of puts his foot down and comes out and throws a gem. They need one of those from him tonight for sure.
Let's talk a little bit, Tony, for a second about Pivetta. Look, first of all, nobody wanted this guy, or at least they didn't look like they wanted him in the offseason. He was one of the last name starting pitchers available. I would hasten to say that when the Padres picked him up, most people thought, okay, this is good, because they were spending some money. The Padres, there was all the question about the ownership unrest and would the Padres spend any money? Well, I think people's reaction was good, they're spending money. But I don't think people's reaction was, oh, good, we got a Cy Young candidate. And honestly,
right.
That's
no
what
said that.
You're right. And that's honestly what they have. Sure, you're going to put Zach Wheeler up there and you're going to put all the normal candidates, but Nick Pivetta has been as good, if not better, than any of them. And I heard, I'm sure you heard, in April and May when he was pitching well, it was, Pivetta does this. He'll give you 5 or 6 good games, and then he'll give you 5 or 6 that aren't so good, and you'll wonder what happened. Guess what? That hasn't happened. He's just been continued to be good. And I think all of us love his guts out there. And you're right. I think he'll take it upon himself tonight to be the guy that says, I'm stopping this short little skid.
Yeah, no, I mean, you certainly would like him to tonight. I mean, the Padres need a win, get kind of back into that kind of groove again. They got 3 more games here. You'd like to see him take all 3 and walk out of here, win 3 or 4 before turning around and heading home, where you'll face a Mets team, and then you'll face this Cardinals team again. So, I think it's he's been phenomenal, man. And I don't know that early on everybody believed it, but I said it. I said at the beginning of the year, he kind of has a little bit of that coming into the year. He kind of felt like Joe did when we first got him. Like there was a lot of conversation about the talent that he had, and he just hadn't gotten to that point. Joe's was a little bit different because he was kind of ascending to where he was going. Pivetta has always been talked about or regarded as a guy that always had good stuff, but for whatever reason, the numbers didn't back it up. Well, this year, I think you have to always look down into that dugout and see, Ruben Niebla.
You and I
down
were
there.
Thinking the same thing there, Tony.
This is not. I don't think this is by chance. This is the first time it's happened for a guy that's come here. So, Pivetta is the best version of himself at the big league level here in 2025. And the Padres, without him, would be in a whole lot of trouble, quite frankly.
No question.
This is a real quick reminder. My man is 10-2.
I know.
With a 2.81 ERA.
Yeah. No, people wanted to say, well, he's only doing it at home and not on the. I mean, any metric you want to look at, he's answered the bell. He's answered the question. Yeah. So, tonight will be another one, hopefully, for Pivetta. Tony, I've only got you for the one segment, but I want to talk about it a little bit more in depth after you head over here and to start getting ready for the game. Report out of Boston today, and there's so many reports now. I think you have to. To me, anyway, you have to take them all with a grain of salt. But do you believe a report that said Dylan Cease and Ethan Salas were turned down by the Red Sox with the Padres asking for Jarren Duran? Do you even believe that maybe happened?
Okay, so let's start. You have to kind of reverse engineer this, right? Okay, so that's out there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about who does it benefit for this information to be out there? Because it doesn't seem like it benefits the Padres. Does it benefit the Red Sox in this? Do you want teams to know that they got to come up higher than that? That's how I always try to look at these situations. If I believe it or not, like, what is the reason for this type of deal to come out?
Right.
I don't know that any side benefits from this. So then you start to ask. Then you start to kind of how would that get out? Who would be comfortable with that? Because it has to come from somebody up top,
right?
First,
Unless the writer's just making it up,
right?
And we hope that they're not doing that,
right? And maybe we don't know where the source came. Maybe the source didn't come from the front office. In which case, then you start to believe maybe it's not true. But I don't know. This one doesn't seem to. As I've thought about it a little bit, I don't know that any side. I know the Padres don't benefit from that being out there. So,
they also wouldn't benefit from that trade, would they? I mean, really, you're going to give up your can't touch catching prospect, in an organization where you clearly need a great catcher in the next couple of years. You're going to give up a starting pitcher, who knows, but an all-star caliber guy, if he picks it back up.
That's also what makes me think that also what makes me think I don't believe it. Right?
I don't either.
Because if you're the Red Sox, why wouldn't you take that? If everything is said to be true, that they're not really liking his attitude, Duran, and you got a chance to move him, and in that chance you get a Dylan Cease and
there's no way
a top catching prospect.
No way.
It would seem that would be something that you would jump at, right? However, Dylan is a rental, and maybe that actually suits the Red Sox. So ultimately, I guess I've come around to given that it doesn't benefit either side here, and that it would seem to be a deal that they would take, right? Because Boston looks kind of crazy for not taking this, I would think, in some ways. So yeah, I tend to believe it's not true. But
yeah, are the Padres going to part with Dylan Cease with no pitching return
coming back, right?
Just because here's my last thing on this for me is, if I'm trading Ethan Salas in this trade deadline season, if I'm really doing it, I'm trading it for a piece that I believe can put me in serious championship contention. And right, I don't believe Jarren Duran is that player. I think he's going to help the team, but I don't think he immediately makes you say, oh, wow, the Padres are the favorites now. So this trade didn't work for me. And either, depending on what you believe, it either didn't work for the Red Sox or it wasn't offered. So you guys go ahead and make up your own decision on that. We'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about that trade deadline. Remember, Jake Cronenworth will be our Friar Friday interview. That's coming up in just a little bit. We've only got about another hour to go. So a lot to get done. Stick around. Gwynn and Chris underway for finally a Friday on San Diego's #1 sports talk station. 97.3 The Fan. Finally a Friday get-together. Crisello. Tony and Junior's in St. Louis, stepping away to get ready for tonight's broadcast. He and Jesse will have it following Sam Levitt's pregame show, which gets started in about an hour from right now. Tony will be back with us at the bottom of the hour because Jake Cronenworth will be joining the program. That interview coming your way at 2:40 this afternoon. Jake's name has been mentioned in the trade rumor mill. We'll ask him about that and ask him about what he and the Padres can do to build on last night's offensive performance. 7 runs. Like I said, that normally wins for the Padres. They're 14-3 this year when they score 7 or more runs. I guess that's the good news. The bad news is that they've only done it 17 times. You'd like to feel like they could do it, a few more than that, and hopefully they will. Hopefully the offense will get going. By the way, Manny Machado last night reached another milestone with that home run. A 2-run shot. It was the 361st of his career. Why is that a milestone? In my mind, it is because he moves into a tie on the all-time list with one of the greatest players in the history of the sport, Jolton Joe DiMaggio. By the way, just for fun, Adam, Joe DiMaggio hit 361 career home runs. That's the same number as Manny, 361. Here's the difference, among some other things, but here's one of the differences. Joe DiMaggio in his career only struck out 369 times. That's unbelievable. I think it's one of the most incredible statistics in baseball history that a guy with that many home runs only struck out 8 more times than he homered. Just by way of comparison, not to poke at Manny, 1,378 strikeouts. It's a little different. Little different era. I get that, but it is remarkable to look up at what DiMaggio did back in the day. The other thing with the Padres last night, only 2 for 11 with runners in scoring position. So once again, even though they got the 7 runs, they missed chances to get a whole lot more, and that continues to kind of be a bugaboo. Tonight again, Nick Pivetta try to be the stopper. And end this 3-game losing streak for the Padres. Some other baseball stuff that we should get to. The Brewers have just tied things up with the Marlins, 1-1 bottom of the 4th. Jackson Chourio homered to tie it up. Earlier, Kyle Stowers hit number 23 for the Marlins. Kyle Stowers, you may not even be aware of it, went to high school right out here at Christian High School in El Cajon. The reason you may not be aware of it, he wasn't, by all regards, a superstar in the making. At least not then. He was not even drafted out of high school. Went up to play at Stanford and then was drafted by the Orioles. He's become a Marlin and an all-star this year, 23rd home run of the year. They're tied at 1 there. The other thing is, and I know this excites our fill-in producer, Adam Klug, the trades have begun. The seal has been broken on the Major League Baseball trade deadline. Congrats to Josh Naylor. He was the first to go. The Diamondbacks first baseman is no longer the Diamondbacks first baseman. He now plays for the Seattle Mariners.
We mentioned at the end of yesterday's show that the CEO of the Diamondbacks did go on radio there in Arizona and mentioned they would be responsible sellers.
The Diamondbacks would be responsible
and now,
for sellers.
Now Josh Naylor on the move to Seattle.
Josh Naylor, and it can't be that Eugenio Suarez is far behind or anybody else
to trade him.
Right. They basically now have signaled the fact that they're cashing in on this season. Now, the rumored place for Suarez to go was the Yankees. Desperate for a third baseman. The Yankees really, the Yankees thought was going to play third base this year was going to be DJ LeMahieu, former batting champion who they've recently released. I mean, he just has not been able to do it, stay healthy.
And Jazz Chisholm, who they moved over there early in the year.
They moved him, right, and now they moved Jazz back to second. They don't have a third baseman, so everybody said, well, Eugenio Suarez is going to go to the Yankees. Well, apparently not, because the Yankees already got a third baseman. They traded for the Rockies' Ryan McMahon today. Look, this has got to be the happiest day in the life of Ryan McMahon, or one of them. Maybe getting married, having a kid or two. I don't know his entire situation, but going from a team that is 50 games under 500 to the Yankees. What a move that was for Ryan McMahon. He gets traded over there for a couple of prospects. And I guess, Adam, this officially signals the end of the Rockies run at a playoff spot. I don't understand it. You're down.
Where's the funeral music, right?
Look, you're 50 games under 500. What are you giving up already? Anyway, Rockies send Ryan McMahon to the Yankees. One other trade. This is a much more minor trade, but maybe not to Mets fans. The Mets bullpen has been awful since the first month of the season. They added to it today, left-handed reliever Gregory Soto comes from the Orioles to the Mets. So that's the beginning of the trade deadline stuff. Of course, we have until next Thursday for all of this stuff to go down, but those are the first three moves that have been made. I didn't ask you in the open, Adam, but I will ask you because you are such a trade guy and aficionado of this stuff. What is your thought on the rumored deal that had the Padres sending Cease and Ethan Salas to the Red Sox in exchange for Jarren Duran, a rumored trade that reportedly was turned down by Boston? What do you think? Do you think that was a real trade offer?
I have multiple thoughts. I think if true, the Red Sox did the Padres a favor by not accepting.
I would say that. Okay.
But at a higher level, I don't think it smells the sniff test, passes the sniff test.
It doesn't to me either. Yeah.
And I know there's been a lot of talk about Jarren Duran. He's a fine player, already generated 2.6 WAR. But I mean, he's a 748 OPS guy. He's got 9 home runs. I don't think he really is a massive, should be a piece that you're mortgaging the future for, to be perfectly honest. Obviously, he's got multiple years of control and low salary and made the All-Star team last year when he had an 8.7 WAR season.
Yeah.
But that season seems to be the outlier. If I were getting that version of Jarren Duran, sign me up. But I don't think you're getting that version of Jarren Duran.
No, that last year's version of Jarren Duran.
And that's just the Duran side of the trade, Chris. If you're trading away Dylan Cease, how are we replacing Dylan Cease?
You don't even get
Salas.
According to this trade rumor, you didn't even get a pitcher in return, right? Yeah. So you gave away one of your, starting guys. You also gave away your future at catcher, for a left fielder that I think is good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's great. So
now we talk about replacing Dylan Cease. 13 minutes ago, Dennis Lynn, our friend, tweeted, Michael King is scheduled to throw a simulated game Monday at Petco Park.
Monday at Petco Park for Michael King. Well, he had been hinting, King, that he was going to make it back by August. Now, that would be a huge, huge deal for the Padres. But I still think even if King would, you feel good about him coming back, I think the fact that Darvish has not yet settled in, and I expect him to. Last night to me was just not what I'm used to seeing from Darvish. Balls just sitting in the middle of the plate all night long. You could see Darvish yelling at himself out there, like, "Man, what am I doing? I can't put pitches there." And so I'm okay with Darvish. It wasn't a great game; it was a terrible game. There's no question. But I feel like he'll get something together. But just on the off chance he doesn't. What if he doesn't and you trade Dylan Cease? Now what do you do? Well, so I these are all things that have to come into play here.
Well, Chris, we've talked about it ad nauseum on this show and every show on the station and on the roundtables, the idea of trading Dylan Cease. And I think in recent weeks there's been momentum towards that. But it was under the thought process of King and Darvish are going to return and be reliable. Now that we've seen 4 starts from Darvish and he hasn't been that effective, does that change your mentality at all, your thought process when it comes to trading away Dylan Cease? That's the question I'm asking you.
It very well might. And I'm saying that it's something I have to certainly consider. Certainly have to consider that. A couple of other quick notes. The Dodgers have been scuffling. They did get the comeback win over the Twins on Wednesday, but overall they've still dropped 11 of their last 15 ball games. They are 5 games up on the Padres. So for the moment, the Dodgers are okay. But things are not okay in the world of Mookie Betts. And again, we don't know what happened and wish him the best on anything that he might be dealing with here. But he is not in the Dodgers lineup tonight in Boston. Dodgers are saying personal reasons. Manager Dave Roberts revealed the possibility of this being the case a couple of days ago. He said, I know there's some things going on personally for him, so I've got to talk to him. We'll see if he's going to be there. There might be some things going on that he might not be around that he's got to deal with personally, but everything's okay with him, so we'll see. That was Dave Roberts' comment. Anyway, Betts is not in the lineup. They are saying they think he'll be back tomorrow, so hopefully it's just a one-day thing, something that Mookie Betts can get taken care of. But we all know that Mookie Betts is going through a nightmare of a season beyond, sitting out today with the personal situation. So we'll keep an eye on that. When we come back, Jake Cronenworth, our Friar Friday guest. Always look forward to having Jake on. He'll get us updated on everything when Gwynn and Chris continues. This is the time, Crisello. Tony Gwynn Jr. in St. Louis. Jake Cronenworth is in St. Louis. He's going to join us in just a couple of minutes. Adam Klug is alongside for the vacationing Matt Scraby. Wow. Comes back on Tuesday, I believe, Scraby does. What does he possibly have to do for all that time? Thank you, Adam. It's fixing my camera, which is a thing that has to happen often here and on the YouTube chat. I know you people want to get a good look at me. Cronenworth came to the Padres December 6th, 2019. That was the day of the trade. Does anybody remember who the real target was for the Padres in that trade with the Tampa Bay Rays? I bring that up because the real target in that trade was not Jake Cronenworth. He was basically a throw-in. I don't even think a lot of people knew who he was at the time. I remember interviewing Jake in spring training of 2020, and we were kind of given a little background on him, and we were told that along with being an infielder, he was also a pitcher. You remember any of that? He was, I thought maybe he might be the next, two-way guy. But the real target in that trade was Tommy Pham, of all people. Pham came to the Padres, Cronenworth along with him. And the players that were sent to Tampa Bay, I think is interesting. One was Hunter Renfroe, who didn't really stick around very much. The other was a second baseman by the name of Xavier Edwards, who is now starting for the Marlins at second base. The Padres also had to send a player to be named later. That player was Esteban Quiroz. I think it was a pretty good deal for the Padres, all in all. And Jake will be our guest here in just a few minutes. But earlier today, Mike Shildt, the manager report. And it's brought to you by our friends at Eco Water SoCal. It's refreshed, as a matter of fact, the manager's report by Eco Water SoCal. Mike Shildt was on with Ben and Woods, and they asked him about Darvish. Darvish, who struggled mightily last night. Here's Mike Shildt's thoughts on the Padre veteran.
You kind of nailed it. We saw some really good things. We're seeing some positives, and he was able to get the two strikes a couple times. The walk to Scott with 2 outs. I mean, he could still get a hit. Obviously, got one later, but that walk opened up the 6-run inning. I just saw the spin good. The fastball execution and spin with 2 strikes just wasn't there as well as he would have liked, and made some pitches that they were able to put some have good swings on. So Contreras' first at bat, and it's just a matter of the consistency and quality of execution, and then that's the key to all the guys, and he just was able to execute. But the times he didn't, there was some traffic, and they made him pay.
Darvish has made 4 starts. Last night was easily the worst of the 4, giving up 8 runs in 3 1/3 innings. He threw 69 pitches for the second consecutive start. 48 were strikes. So his control in terms of throwing strikes was okay, but his location in the strike zone was horrible. And it was one of those games where, at least me watching from the center field camera, I started to cringe before a couple of those pitches got hit because they were right down the middle. And that's just not what Darvish does. So, look, I'm willing to believe in Darvish. He's earned that trust over time, but he still has to do it. And we'll see what happens next time out for you, Darvish, who falls to 0-3 with a 9.18 ERA. Not very you Darvish-like. Nick Pivetta will be on the mound tonight. And then after the weekend, we'll all settle in for the trade deadline. And I'm just curious what Mike Shildt thinks about all of the trade deadline stuff. And I'm glad that Ben and Woods were also curious because they asked him about it this morning on the manager's report.
I'm interested in the 26 guys we have in our clubhouse.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. We all have our jobs to do. AJ's excellent at his. We know. I have complete confidence in him. AJ's got, it's not as easy as the vacuum that we live in at the moment. You know, it's a now, and it's a big picture, and it's a, you know, a lot of different factors that, you know, quite honestly, never having done the job, I don't even understand all of them. So I don't pretend to try. You know, so I've been given the real blessing of managing the club that we have, and I love the club that we have, and, you know, we're going to continue to get the most out of what we do have, and that's all we can do. And I'm excited about the group we have, and however it changes, if it changes, then you know, so be it.
I kind of predicted that would be Mike Shildt's answer, and it has to be his answer. By the way, he's got to be interested in the guys that he's got the ability to write in or not in his lineup right now. He can't worry about whether Jarren Duran might be or might not come. He's got to handle these guys right now. But I also think that he's a little more in on it than he lets on. Don't you? Like, I don't think that AJ Preller and his group of guys operate in a complete vacuum away from Mike Shildt. At least in a good organization, I would certainly want my manager's input on what I'm doing. And I'm pretty sure AJ Preller's the kind of guy that gets it. At least in the Mike Shildt case. There might have been a couple of managers over time that, you know, AJ and did not have the same relationship with. But I think these guys are all working together, and they will all be doing so over the next week. All right, Jake Cronenworth, his name has come up in the trade discussions. Dennis Lynn from The Athletic said the Padres might be looking, and also has mentioned that there are teams who are asking. So that is among the things that Tony and I will talk to Jake Cronenworth about right now. And indeed, time for our Friday interview, and one of our favorite guests on any Padre interview is Jake Cronenworth, who's obviously in St. Louis with the Padres, and joins us. Jake, how are things? I don't know. You're from Michigan. Maybe you're a little used to this, but they don't have humidity like this up there.
No, this is definitely a little hotter than Michigan. That's for sure.
It's trying to stay cool out there. Hey, look, you know, yesterday I was going to come on and, you know, surprise you and say, hey, did you know you played more games at second base than any other Padre? And then I read in the paper today that you were very well aware of that. They interviewed you about it yesterday, and you talked about it in the paper today and what that means to you. But it is pretty crazy when I think back to our first visit with you in spring training of 2020. I don't think anybody could have imagined that this would happen.
No, I mean, it's pretty crazy. You know, it's one of those things, you know, you're just trying to get into the big leagues and be with the team, and hold on, there's a golf cart going by here. No, you're trying to break in with the team and get comfortable with the guys, and, you know, I had just gotten traded over and didn't really know anybody. To be here now, you know, 5.5, 6 years later is it's pretty special. That's for sure.
I mean, Jake, 431 starts, man, that is a crazy number. And to be ahead of a Hall of Famer in Roberto Alomar. I mean, I was a kid when Roberto Alomar was on this team. He was a young, exciting player. And here we are, fast forward to 2025. You're at the top of that. I mean, exciting player. And here we are, fast forward to 2025. Last year, did this come to your attention?
I didn't know about it until yesterday, until AJ Cronenworth about it.
You know, wow. Jake, one of the things I've always enjoyed when we talk is you, to me anyway, are one of the guys that really gets it in terms of, you know, playing baseball and getting through the daily grind of it all and understanding what's really important out there. And you've talked about this before, but I just want to ask you again. I mean, you have an 0 for 4 day. You have a 1 for 5 day. And somebody will ask you about the game, and your response will normally be, I think what you've told us is, did I do anything to help us win the game that may not have been in the batter's box? Did I do something defensively, on the base pass, whatever it might be? And I think that has been one of the secret sauces for your success here with the Padres. And I just wonder how, you know, where that all came from maybe originally, and how you've been able to kind of keep that mantra.
Yeah, it's tough because every night you want to go out there and succeed, and you want to have that 2 or 3 hit game every night, and I think everybody looks to the offensive side of the ball and be like, yeah, this is how you're going to help the team win, which of course, yes, it is. But I mean, there's a ton of other factors that, go into the game. I mean, shoot, you could go 0 for 4 and you could make no plays in the field and have no base running plays, but you may have saw something a pitcher did and gave some other guy a piece of advice, and he goes up and hits a big homer for you, or goes up and gets a big hit. And no, I mean, I think kind of where it stemmed from is kind of the start of my career. I was never this superstar. I was never the guy that was this huge prospect. I was didn't get to the big leagues until I was 26, and I think I always had to play that way to succeed. And I was just trying to find a way to help this team win no matter what, and stay with this group. And I've tried to take that into every single day, and not take any day for granted, for sure.
Jake Cronenworth joins us, doing a fine job of just that. And Jake, you and I had a conversation all the way back in spring training, and you were specifically talking about, sticking with the process, regardless of, whether you were getting the results offensively or not. And, throughout this season, you've done that. You've stuck with the process. You've stuck with your game plan. How are you doing with that? As we kind of get further into the season, to this point, you haven't changed anything in terms of sticking with your process typically.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, we had that conversation in spring training, and, all the work that I put in the off season, flying out to San Diego to hit in our lab, doing all different kinds of things to get myself to get to that point where I can, just show up every day and just go out and compete. Right. Instead of thinking, oh, it's this or it's that. And, I think I'm old enough now, and I've played long enough now where, I'm at a point in my career where, it's not necessarily all about mechanics. It's right. Going out there and getting the right pitch to hit. And, some days it's going to happen for you. Some days it's not. I mean, shoot, 4 days ago, I was hitting 250 with a 780 OPS or something like that. And now I'm not, but that's baseball. It's 2 0 for 4s will do that for you. But, like you said, like it's, today's a new day, and it's sticking to that process, and, what can I do tonight to help the team win? And, that's part of it. I may get, an at-bat tonight where I draw a walk and score the winning run. Who knows?
Yeah, a 2-hit game is always just around the corner. Jake Cronenworth is with us. Where is this team in terms of offensively, just in your mind and the team's mind, in a season where the one thing that hasn't been consistent has been the offense? Give us kind of a little update from your perspective.
Yeah, I think compared to last year, and, I don't like to compare teams because every year is so unique in itself, as we've seen. And it's kind of how baseball is. But no, I mean, I think, I think would we like to be in a better place? 100%. But, I think if you asked everybody last year the same question, everybody would want to be in a better place too. You're always trying to get better and, get to that point. But I think we've put ourselves in a good position. I think for the most part, from my point of view, guys are having quality at bats up and down the lineup. We got on 7-2 last night in the second inning, and we fight our way back, and we're a couple walks away, a bloop and a blast away from taking the lead there. It doesn't happen for us, but that goes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier about kind of how I've attacked this year, and really tried to stay with the process. And we could look back on yesterday and be like, we failed, but at the same time, it's like, now we had a pretty dang good offensive game. We had 12 hits, and we scored 7 runs, and what can we do today to win today's game? I think that's kind of been the overall message. We could have 2 hits today and win 1-0. You never know.
Yeah. Jake Cronenworth joins us here, Padres second baseman, sometimes first baseman. And Jake, you mentioned yesterday, and I know we don't like to compare years because you're right. It's so uniquely different. But when you have a night like last night, and you know what your offense is capable of, is there ever a sense the next day, like, all right, how can we get some type of carryover? Because last year you guys got rolling in the second half, and it felt like you had those nights almost on a nightly basis. When you see a night like that where you guys put together so many quality at bats, you have a couple of homers, certainly that helps. But just overall, the at bats were better. How is there a sense of, all right, maybe we can get this to carry over the following day and kind of build on this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the result is one thing. You're 12 hits and 7 runs in a game is great. Usually you're going to win those games, but I think the biggest thing that you want to carry over is that those quality at bats up and down the lineup. And
right.
What can we do tonight? Because we're not facing the same guy we did yesterday. They're going to come up with a whole new plan on how we're going to beat Michaelis today, and figure out like how are we going to have quality at bats up and down the lineup so that we can put ourselves in that position, that we did last night.
Right.
Jake, I have to ask you because your name popped up in a trade rumor, and boy, it's that time of year, isn't it? You've been through this already, and so I imagine you're pretty good at dealing with it. But I imagine somebody mentioned that they saw it somewhere if you didn't see it yourself. So again, your laser focus has to come into play during this next week or so while these kinds of things swirl around.
Yeah, I mean, my focus is here. Obviously there's, from what I've been told, there's interest from other teams, and it is what it is. But my focus is, here with our club, and trying to help us win a World Series and get to our ultimate goal, and whatever I can do to do that.
Jake, I want to sneak one more last wing, and we really appreciate the time, but I wanted to know something kind of fun and upbeat. In the history of the Padres, to me, there's been 5 or 6 moments that will stand out forever. The Garvey home run, Tony's dad getting his 3,000th hit, Musgrove's first no-hitter. I think your hit against the Dodgers that put that series away belongs on that list of great memories. I'm curious, other than somebody like me bringing it up, how often do you allow yourself a moment to reflect on that and just kind of enjoy it? I know it's in the past, but do you ever do that? And if so, what are the circumstances?
No, I think, every once in a while, if somebody says something, or, maybe in the off season, I actually had I think it was we do the pictures on the field for the Padres membership, and I had a woman who's probably in her mid-40s come and say something really nice to me through a time that she was going through, and I think when stuff like that happens, and members of the community and what they were going through and how it impacted them, I think it kind of sinks in, and you realize this is really what happened and the effect it had on not just the franchise, but on the city of San Diego.
There he is, Jake Cronenworth, our guest on Friar Friday. We'll take a break, top of the hour, and then one last segment before we go to Padre pregame. Stick around.
Hey, it's Ben and Woods. Getting up early in the morning isn't a lot of fun, believe us, we know.
But somehow we usually find a way to get up on the right side of the bed. Join us for a morning dose of fun weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Cloudy and breezy tonight, overnight lows near 63.
Weather brought to you by Staples. Have you heard? The Staples Easy button is back with even more easy. Press it for custom prints, shipping services, even...
Things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Scraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. 4th hole. Nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard. Sasquatch. So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet. Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not used to complimentary to you, but I can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You hit some.
These things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Scraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. Fourth hole. Nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard. Sasquatch. So Chris says that he can't play golf, but this is the second birdie putt he's made for us. This time it was like 20 feet. Thank you very much, Greg. But once again, you're hitting some very nice shots as well. I'm not used to complimentary to you, but I can't help but be complimentary. Your shot making today.
With my what?
Your shot making. You hit some.
These things. It even tells you, hey, there's a canyon over here. Don't hit it here.
Scraby from about 45 feet. His caddy tells him to play it a little to the right. He's been playing well so far today. Fourth hole. Nice smooth delivery. Hit it too hard.
Minutes. Padres and Cardinals, game 2 of the series. Pretty sure you're aware by now. Cardinals took the opener last night 9-7. Only the third time all year that the Padres scored as many as 7 and lost. So just keep scoring 7, guys. The wins will come, and I would think tonight 7 will be enough. You got Nick Pivetta on the mound. Find out what happens. First pitch is at about 4:15 this afternoon. Padres wrapping up a 10-game road trip. Jake Cronenworth, our guest. Hope you enjoyed that visit with Jake. He's one of the real good guys in baseball. And I think, he's kind of become the 7-hitter. So as long as he's there, I think he's just a valuable guy. I do. I know, he has his critics, like everybody else does, I guess. Average is down. I mean, he finished second in the Rookie of the Year balloting when he started in 2020. And people say, well, he hasn't been the same guy since then. I don't know. It's actually pretty close. Jake is what he is. But I tell you one thing, you put him up in a big spot in a big game, I think Jake Cronenworth's a guy I count on to get a hit. His career average is 246. Right now it's 236. It's not that big of a difference. Truly, it's not. His OPS career 740. This year 733. Pretty close. All right, Jake Cronenworth, our guest. If you missed it, it'll be on the webpage, 973thefansd.com. A couple of quick things I want to get to before we get out of here. First, for those going to enjoy some football tonight, SDFC taking on Nashville FC, 7:30 tonight at Snapdragon Stadium. This will be the final game for the SDFC before they head into the Leagues Cup. 3 matches coming up against teams from Mexico. That all starts next week. So kind of an exciting time for you soccer fans out there. SDFC remains in first place in the West. A win tonight would solidify that position going into the break, as it were. Guess where I'm going tonight, Adam Klug?
Where are you going tonight, Chris Eller?
You know what? You'll never guess. It's sports related. Sports related. See if you can come up with it. It's in San Diego, or in the San Diego Metroplex.
The Gulls game.
The Gulls game. I don't know. Are they playing?
I don't know. I don't even know if it's in season. I don't
think it's in season.
I don't have a better guess, Chris.
You don't have a better guess. I am going to go tonight to the place where the surf meets the turf. And I'm bringing this up only for one reason, because I'm experiencing something tonight that I've never got to experience before. Tonight, the Del Mar races on Fridays always start at 4 o'clock. So it's a Friday evening program at Del Mar. The feature race tonight is the 7th race. It's called the Fleet Stakes, I believe. The favorite in the race is a horse called Om Joy. And it sounds like the candy bar, but it's not spelled that way. It's O-M, then N, then Joy.
Do you know the difference between Almond Joy and Mounds?
Yes. Peter Paul Mounds has nuts. Peter Paul Almond Joy has nuts. Peter Paul Mounds don't. But this is Almond Joy, the horse. My longtime buddy from college, known this guy for years and years and years, bought a stake, a minority stake in this horse. And this horse has won, coming into tonight, 3 races in a row. And my buddy is over the moon. And he can't wait for the race tonight. And he invited me up to sit. I don't know if I get an owner's box or what they call it there. But I'm going as a fan to support my buddy and watch his horse try to win a 4th consecutive race. He is the morning line favorite, for what that's worth. If you're going to Del Mar tonight and that horse happens to win, look for me in the winner's circle. So I'll be down there.
Normally, when we don't have a short show, you do the daily gambit in this segment.
Yes, this would be a perfect daily gambit.
In fashion,
yes, right.
Will you be laying a few shekels on your buddy's horse?
Honestly, I wish he was a little longer odds, because I definitely want to bet on him to support, but he's the favorite. I don't like betting on the favorite. I got to be honest with you that way. I probably should back him, though, a little bit. Anyway, check it out if you're headed to Del Mar tonight. 7th race. If you're so inclined.
If you're at Del Mar, go find Chris, walk up to him, give him a hug. He loves to be hugged, right?
I do. I like hugs. I like hugs. I'm a good hug guy. You can come up and say hello if you can find me. I said I'll be in the winner's circle if the horse wins. You can look for me there. All right. And best of luck to my buddy Mike and his horse tonight. That I think it's pretty exciting. I've never owned anything like that, to have a horse. Imagine if you owned a part of the horse and it was running down the stretch and win. He gets money when the horse wins. He's doing well. Good for Mike. Did you see the story on the NFL today?
the story, as if there's one big
There's
one.
a couple of them.
Is this
but
the betting one from players or selling Super Bowl tickets?
This is the selling of the Super Bowl tickets. I just get a kick out of this. At least 100 players.
Who among us hasn't? Come on.
In the NFL, what?
Scalp tickets at above
Scalp
price.
tickets? Okay, all of us have done it, but none of us are in the NFL. And it's flat out against the rules in the NFL to sell tickets to the Super Bowl to people that you may or may not know. And players do find a way to get tickets. Over 100 players are facing a penalty for selling their Super Bowl tickets to last year's game between the Chiefs and the Eagles. Our initial investigation has determined that a number of NFL players and coaches employed by several clubs sold their tickets for more than the ticket's face value. That is in violation of the policy. Apparently, those who are caught will not get Super Bowl tickets to sell this year. But if their team makes it to the Super Bowl, they will then be allowed to apply for a couple of tickets. NFL's coming down hard on this. By the way, Adam, it's kind of in jest that we talk about this. The NFL has much bigger issues going on than this. And most of it has to do with the former leadership of the Players Union. The guy that was, well, the guy that unceremoniously stepped down from the job after it was discovered that he was putting his strip club expense report.
As I said earlier, who among us?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
I kid.
Yes, you kid. Lloyd Howell Jr. is the guy that resigned, but there's a lot of crisis management apparently going on right now within the NFL's the NFLPA's executive committee.
This
so
is
something to maybe keep an eye on.
This is interesting to some people, but there's obviously turmoil and chaos within the NFLPA right now and no leadership. Yeah. And yesterday, the Raiders voided guaranteed money for one of their players for how he rehabbed an injury, $35 million. And so he's fighting that to get his guaranteed money, but he needs the help of the NFLPA to help represent him. And the Players Union has no leadership.
They're in disarray and have no leadership right now.
Wrong time to need the NFLPA to help you out.
Yeah, that player's Christian Wilkins, former Dolphin and now Raider, who is not healthy enough
to play. Not now Raider, was a Raider.
Yes, wants his money, though. Guaranteed money. I think the word guarantee speaks for itself normally. Stick around. Sam Levitt's pregame show is next. I don't know if he can guarantee a win, but he'll do his best. Adam Klug, thank you so much for helping out. We'll see everybody Monday. For Tony Gwynn, Chris Ello, enjoy your weekend, everybody, and let's get back in the win column tonight.